All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? Beautiful Saturday. We got some NBA to chat about. Coming at you with this video at 11:44 on the West Coast. So just over 4 hours until lock. We have 7 games tonight on the DraftKings slate. We're going to go through those. Kind of give you a slate overview, kind of where my thoughts are at. 4 hours from lock before we dive in and really start making some lineups. I've started the slate plan that should be finished by the time you guys are watching this, as well as all of our cores will be posted today. It's a good time to have a good night. So, we have some PGA going, we have some NFL going today, but, we do have some money to be won in the NBA streets. Speaking of PGA, we're running PGA 100. This is now, kind of like the week 1 of PGA as it's starting up. So take advantage of code PGA 100. Get $100 off the annual PGA package, and it gets you full access all the way through the middle of February, second week of February, all the way through Super Bowl. Take advantage of all the sports. This is a great deal. If you are not a member of the SHIPIT Nation community, frankly, you're missing out. So come in, use the discount code, come use the tools, come use the stone, and most importantly, come be a member of the Discord where we have, sharp talk all day long, every sport, every chat room. It makes you a better player, and it certainly gets the wheels turning on how to make better lineups. But let's dive in. We have, like I said, 7 games here. We're going to keep this a little bit shorter, use this as a slate kind of starter overview, kind of just get the wheels turning a little bit before we dive into the slate plan and cores and making some lineups utilizing the stone. We are utilizing the stone today. We're going to show that off. I use this to make lineups in every sport. This is a great way to kind of look at the slate as a whole and break down some stuff so you're not going over multiple tabs. So first and foremost, let's break it down. 7 games. Like I said, there's going to be 4 games that I'm going to look to target. Additionally, there's 2 games, we'll call them kind of in the middle, that have middling spreads, and then, kind of 1 blowout risk, and then a game that, we're going to find ourselves wanting to target, but at a 217.5 over-under in the Minnesota-Detroit game might be a little tough to get to. So those 4 games are Knicks and Bulls, 238 with a 5.5-point spread. Denver and San Antonio running it back from last night, 236. Denver's favored by 4. Phoenix at Indy, 235.5. The Pacers are favored by 2. And Memphis at Golden State, 233.5. Golden State favored by 2.5 with no Curry. Those middle games are Portland, Milwaukee, 228 with the possible blowout risk of Milwaukee at 12.5. And then the Jazz at the Heat, the Jimmy Butlerless Heat, as he got suspended for 7 games. That's probably right. When you start to see some of the stuff he's saying in the media, it's kind of a tough spot to go ahead and get rid of him. So just suspend him. That's a 2.5-point spread. The last game, like I alluded to, T-Wolves and Pistons, 217.5, where I think the field might be a little scared to target. And rightfully so, but I think we could find something there, which we'll get to. Some important injuries today. Let's talk about the guys that are out and then questionable and the guys that are going to play. So Nurk is out. Jimmy Butler's obviously out. Ja, Smart, and Aldama are all out. And Curry is out. So those are kind of like the big injuries / suspensions that are going to, kind of dictate some of the value on this slate. Some stuff to watch as we kind of get through the afternoon is Bradley Beal is questionable. Fontecchio, that might mix up that Pistons rotation with no Ivy. As we saw last night, they started more and kind of ran Beasley off the bench more than Thompson. Thompson got some ownership yesterday, kind of a tough spot all day. We thought he was slated to start in one of the top values. And like I said, some discussions in the Discord 10 minutes before lock really, kind of fixed us getting off that value. Deuce McBride is questionable. Sohan is questionable after he missed last night in the exact same matchup. So kind of curious to break that down as we get closer to lock. And those are all the questionable tags that really mean something. Wiggins, Giannis, and Middleton are all going to play as they're listed as probable. So let's kind of go through where the obvious value is first before we go game by game. It's going to be the Golden State guys. It's going to be Buddy Hield at 3,400, Trace Jackson Davis at 5K, Dennis Schroeder at 5,200, and Wiggins at 5,600. Those guys are all going to be popular. I'll throw Kuminga into that mix as well, coming off the bench. His tag is a little elevated, but he's going to project well as a top value on the slate. And then just, kind of the obvious studs is we have, Joker and Wemby going back at it as they just, what a fun matchup last night. Joker went for 41, 18, and 9, and Wemby went for 35 and 18. So we get to watch that again tonight. This one's in San Antonio, coming from Denver. So I think, we kind of talked about it in the Discord. I wasn't talking about it. I saw some people talking about it. That flight's probably about 2.5, maybe 3 hours. But let's dive in. Let's get rid of the ugly game first. So let's go here. Let's start at the top here with the T-Wolves and Pistons. This one is going to be, not as targeted on this slate just because of the high totals that we have. But the Pistons defense has not been great over the last month. Now, people might look at some recent scores like last night versus Charlotte and say, well, they kept Charlotte under 100. But that was no LaMelo Ball, no Brandon Miller. That was the Miles Bridges-led Charlotte Hornets. And I'm not going to put much value into that. So I'm going to continue to look to target this bad Pistons defense over the last 30 days. And really, I just, want to go to the two studs and Ant and Julius Randle. And at 86, they want him to attack the rim more. I think, he's going to get better at that. I think he's going to get more free throws. 86, as his price is coming down, as we saw it up around the 9Ks, might be a spot to target. Additionally, Julius Randle has been facilitating the ball really well, getting, his increased assist rate, which at 7,400, I mean, versus a rough-looking Pistons defense, this might be a real good spot to target. And it looks like the field agrees at 15% ownership. The one value piece that I will add is Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels had, he does get the minutes in the low 30s. Last time out versus Boston, he played for 35 minutes, had 32.5 DraftKings points. That smashes that 4K tag. This is a guy that we targeted last year, specifically in the playoffs, and was very popular piece to a lot of lineups. Hasn't really played well this season. But I think this is a time that we can start kind of looking to get back to him. He shot 6 for 12 from the field. He did hit 4 threes, but at 4K, when everybody's going to be all over this Golden State Warriors value, and we know how those rotations kind of have been, happening this year, I think this might be an interesting spot to kind of go back to as he is getting sub 20% ownership. From the Pistons side, I mean, with no Ivy last night, they started more, but Beasley, I want to get this right. I have it down. So Beasley got 31 minutes and took 16 shots. Now, he was 1 for 10 from the 3-point line, which is it's interesting because yesterday on the show, I talked about how his price, might be kind of capped, but at 16 shots and taking 10 threes, I don't think it's capped. I think, if he continues to get the shot will fall. If he can rebound like he did in the past when Ivy was out, this could be a really interesting spot at essentially no ownership. And like I said, he came off the bench and played 31 minutes. So we could see an area where he could start tonight. Two guys I'll kind of go on before we get off this ugly game. Cade at 9,900. I mean, he did not play well last night, kind of let some people down, but this would be a good spot to kind of go back, in my opinion. If you're not getting to some of these studs, you kind of want to stay in the mid tier of studs. He'd be on my list. And then Tobias Harris, whose price only increased by 200 last night. He got his mid 30s minutes. He did, I think it was, high 40s in DraftKings points. If he's going to get the run like he did, which I do anticipate, there is definite upside at that tag. Let's go to the two ugly games before we kind of break down the good games. We have Utah and the Heat here. Now, no Jimmy Butler is going to make the Heat side very interesting. I don't want to get too cute in all of this. I mean, we're seeing some ownership on Rozier off the bench at sub 5K. But I think I'm just focused on the two studs here. I'm looking at Tyler Hero and I'm looking at Bam Adebayo. This would be a matchup that I want to tag Hero more than Bam, but Bam has been passing the ball really well. And now that the Heat kind of get to take their exhale and know that Jimmy's not going to be in the facility, he's not going to be a part of these games. Actually, that's a good point. I think if you're suspended, you aren't allowed in the facility. So anyways, saw the interview with Tyler Hero after Jimmy Butler went on and said that he wants to get his happiness back. I think this is kind of an awkward spot. As we know, he's not super confrontational as far as the Ahmed Thompson stuff goes. So I think everybody in that room, specifically Tyler Hero, gets to take a deep breath and say, okay, Jimmy's gone now. We can play basketball. So I want to look to target those two. Tyler Hero more than Bam, but both are great plays in my opinion, and a pace-up spot versus a bad Jazz team. But I'm going to keep it simple with the Heat and not get real cute outside of that. For the Jazz side, I mean, not much here. I mean, John Collins is going to be back. He's missed like 2 weeks with a hip. I would assume he gets a minutes restriction, so he's not coming back to his mid-30s in minutes. If for some reason he did come back into mid-30s in minutes, the 7K tag is really interesting, but I do not anticipate that. We'll drop down here to Bucks and Blazers. This is another interesting spot. I mean, you get Dame versus old team. Giannis at 11.5, who's going to be what is that, $800 cheaper than Joker. I'm going to lean Joker today. I think this Bucks team can take advantage of this Blazers team. Really, just the main guys for me. I do have written down here. You can explore builds with a Bucks blowout, but it might be kind of tough, kind of narrowing down who that's going to be. If I am targeting this game, my ranking is going to go Giannis, Brook Lopez, and then Dame. But that's kind of like the basic beginner kind of breakdown of that team. For me, I won't be targeting it. It is, it's kind of split down the middle. Do you target games as if blowouts were going to happen, or do you just know it's the NBA and then any team can hit shots and this game stays close? On tonight's slate, I am going to go with the thought process of that the Bucks will blow the Blazers out. Because of that, I just really have, Avdia on the other side at 6,100. He's been playing awesome. But aside from that, I don't really love anything else in this game. So Avdia on one side and then Giannis, Lopez, and Dame on the other side. Now let's talk about fun games. So we'll jump back up to the top. We'll start with the game that I kind of have the most questions about. Not questions, but kind of the toughest to build through. So like I said, Bradley Beal is questionable. For the Sun side, I don't love anything if he is back. I mean, Devin Booker at 9K, KD at 96, Beal at 77. This is a tougher spot for me if he isn't. If he's not in, I'm looking to target Kevin Durant and Tyus Jones. But that's kind of like pretty set for how I always target the Suns. I'm not a huge Devin Booker guy unless both Beal and KD are out. And even at that point, I look to target Tyus Jones a little bit more, especially at the mid 5-tier range. So if Beal is in, don't have much interest. You could make a case for Tyus Jones in the mid tier at 5,400. As I said, on a previous show about a week ago, I like him when all these guys are in, just because he gets facilitate the ball. He gets the fourth, defender on the team, sometimes the worst defender on the team when you have to guard Booker, Beal, and Durant. So I think there are times that we can take advantage of that. But no real love here and a great total. Like I said, it's a 235.5. My math, maybe 230, 235.5. My math is correct. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm hoping we get more clarity before lock on the Beal stuff. If Beal is out, I want to go KD and Jones over Booker. For the Pacers, Halliburton going off, winning our guy Rio $100,000 the other night. I think he had like 70 something DraftKings points. And he's kind of the guy that, you target knowing that, he might, hurt you for 5-6 games in a row. But he's always going to throw in a giant number. And he always gets his low ownership. So, but for the Pacers, I mean, Halliburton, Nembhard, Mathurin, Siakam, Turner, those guys are all in play. And this is what makes this game so hard, in my opinion, is that any one of these guys could go off. I think we're going to dock Mathurin a little bit with Nembhard in. As we've seen before, he could kind of take away a few shots. I mean, Siakam, whenever he's in the low 7Ks, is certainly an interesting play to me. And Miles Turner in the low 6Ks too. I mean, Plumlee's going to be a little bit better of a defender than Nurk, in my opinion. But needless to say, I mean, Turner does kind of play that stretch 5 kind of game where he could, hit shots from beyond the 3-point line. So I wouldn't be too scared of that matchup. But if I had to rank them, I think it's going to be Siakam with the discount, Halliburton, then Turner, and then Nembhard and Mathurin. I'm just going to kind of throw out of the pool. When both of those guys are in, they take away from each other. So no, thank you. Knicks and Bulls, this is going to be a very fun one. Highest total on the slate. And we love targeting Bulls games as far as, playing DFS. But additionally, on top of that, we get the Knicks where we know they're going to get, their strong minutes in the mid to high 30s. And in a game where they go up and down, this is going to be a popular set of players. I think the ownership will increase as we get closer to lock. But you can play all of these guys. So like I said, Deuce McBride, he is questionable. And with the increase to Cameron Payne, I think if Deuce is out, I don't want to find myself playing Cameron Payne at 4,400 on a 7-game slate. But I mean, the decision is going to be, hey, we play Cat at 10-3. Do we play Brunson at 89? Do I get a couple of these middling Knicks in the mid-price range that have been playing real well? I guess the answer is what fills. So, as my top kind of target on the slate, the first thing that I looked at is I'm going to play multiple Knicks with a Bulls run back. I mean, that's not surprising to anybody, but I think it's going to go Cat just because he has the upside. I think he can attack this Vooch defense on the other side. I believe, he will play well in a kind of a back and forth pace with a ton of shots, extra rebounding, increase with the added, 20, 30 shots that may happen in this game. So I'll label him first. Brunson, he is going to play today after missing a game, I believe, 2 ago. But, got his full minutes last night versus OKC, played decent in those. But I think sub 9K with the matchup versus the Bulls, I think there is upside there. And then as far as Bridges, Hart, and OG go, I mean, this is like throwing a dart. I mean, Bridges, been shooting the ball real well, but not really adding any peripheral stats. Hart's been doing the opposite. He's been adding all the peripheral stats, triple doubled in 2 straight 2 times ago. And then OG been playing well as well. So I think the way I'm going to rank this is I'm going to go Towns and then Brunson. And then I think it's Bridges and Hart who are very close, and then OG. But all these guys are going to be good plays versus the Bulls. Jumping over to the Bulls side, I mean, my favorite play by far here is Vooch. I want to play Vooch versus Cat. It might be kind of tough to get both these guys in because it'd make it impossible to get Joker. But I think, we could take advantage of the field not playing Vooch recently, as well as a matchup versus Karl Anthony Towns. And then kind of the same goes for these guys. I mean, I'm going to throw Giddey out just because his price tag is high. I know Io is out, but he doesn't really get as many minutes as White and Levine in some of these games. So I'm going to go White for the discount over Levine. But as we've seen, it's pretty sharp to kind of go Levine and White in some of these games, knowing that there's going to be a million shots. Now the matchup with the Knicks is a little bit tougher, and that's why the ownership is going to be lower. But, I mean, when both these teams start to shoot the ball, I mean, it's the Bulls effect. When you shoot the ball in under 10 seconds of every possession, you kind of force the other team into transition. It kind of takes them out of their half-court defensive sets. So that's where I'll kind of leave it here. I mean, Lonzo, he's been a popular value piece over the last couple of weeks. This could be another game where we could target at 4,100, but I am not loving it. Scrolling down here, Nuggets and Spurs. So we get the matchup again from last night. What a fun one. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, Joker 41, 18, and 9. Wemby 35 and 18, 4 for 6 from the 3-point line. Kind of had a heat check there where he hit a 3 and then was not looking to pass with a step behind the line and drilled that as well. Now, it is interesting to see. I don't have the exact minutes, but you guys can look it up. He did get in foul trouble last night. So that was a concern of mine as we got closer to lock last night. I was on the Wemby stuff, but I ended up going Joker because of the foul risk. And that was the case. I mean, Wemby did miss out on a few minutes in the first half and in the fourth quarter. Now, not a ton. We're talking 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. But he had 5 fouls, and even Zach Collins coming off the bench had 5 quick ones. So I believe that is going to be the Nuggets kind of strategy again today, is they saw how easy it was to get him in early foul trouble and kind of dictate the game. I think we can go back to that strategy again today. I'm going Joker over Wemby, even though it's very close. And obviously Wemby has the upside. But Joker had like mid 80s in DraftKings points last night to high 60s. I think it was like 68 or 69 for Wemby. But that's where I'll lean there. They're both going to be fantastic plays. I'm going to lean Joker over Wemby for the increased foul risk. Now, going over to the Spurs side, with Sohan out yesterday, Castle did get the start. It was a very, very popular value piece. And as they started this exact lineup that we have projected here. Now, Sohan is questionable. I would anticipate him playing. If he does not play, bump the Castle stuff again and he's 3,400. But it is interesting. Keldon Johnson, what is he today? 4,500. And Champagnie at 4,100. Both of those guys closed the game in the final 5-6 minutes with no Barnes and no Castle. So that'd be interesting. Again, I think if this game does stay close, which is what Vegas is projected, I believe that they will go back to those sets earlier. So that's kind of a check mark to Keldon Johnson if Sohan is out. If Sohan's out or in, no Castle, no Barnes for me, and even really no Keldon Johnson. I think, Champagnie, I mean, he kind of fits that lineup more when you throw Sohan in and if you take Harrison Barnes out with Wemby and Sohan. So that's where I'll lean. But I'm hoping he's out, and I'm hoping that the field gets to Castle because that would make it really interesting to see. He got 24 minutes last night and did not close for just under 18 DraftKings points. If the field goes there and he's really popular, I don't mind going back to Champagnie and Keldon Johnson for kind of that sneaky close run and may get a few extra minutes over Castle tonight. But like Vassell, 6,200, when Wemby's off of the floor, they give him the show. Both Wemby and Chris Paul were off the floor last night, and it was the Devin Vassell show. So I would check him as a preferred play. For the Nuggets side, I mean, it's Joker and then everybody else. I mean, this might be a good spot, or not might be. I mean, we saw it last night with Murray. Didn't shoot the ball well, kind of missed out on a few extra shots. But when Joker's not shooting the ball, he took 36 shots last night. But when he's not shooting the ball, it's Jamal Murray next, sub 8K. He gets this matchup again. I'm going to check the box there. No Westbrook for me at 6,600. I mean, he's been getting the start and been playing well, but 66 is a big boy tag. So I'll leave it there with Murray and Joker on the Nuggets side. Warriors and Grizzlies. I think this is the last game we have to chat about as the Clippers and the Hawks are off. So this is the most interesting one with all the value that we have. So Curry's out. Draymond is going to play. Wiggins is probable. So we're going to find ourselves in a bucket of Buddy, Trace Jackson Davis, Dennis Schroeder, and Wiggins, and throw Kuminga in there. We're going to have to distinguish these value pieces. I think I'm going to agree with the field here, and Schroeder being one. No, I'm not going to agree. Schroeder is going to be one for me. Buddy Hield, if he's going to be 35, 40%, I know his tag is 3,400. But not a ton of trust coming from Kerr and the gang over there. Over the last 3 games, Buddy's 0 for 7, 1 for 8, and 1 for 5 from the field. This is going to be kind of a scary fade as we know that he can absolutely fill it up. And I'm not saying go fade Buddy Hield if he gets to start, but it's certainly something to look at. That at 3,400, if he goes his 1 for 8, 2 for 5, whatever it be from the field, he's not adding a ton of peripheral stats to that tag. So in a vacuum, I mean, I'm going to go Castle over Buddy if both these guys get the starts or if Shohan's out for Castle. But interesting if the field is going to go there over Castle because I'm going to be looking to get away. Kuminga at 64 off the bench. He's going to be popular, and that might be another fade for me. I mean, 6,400 coming off the bench. He's a great player and gets a ton of usage when he's on the floor, but damn, 64 is a big number. So I'm going to stay away from him. I think Trace Jackson Davis, he played really well in 3 out of 4. The last matchup was real tough for him. So I think this might be a real good target tonight at 5K, getting some Brandon Clark and Jay Huff on the other side. Don't love Jaren Jackson as a defender, so we can target him if he does play the 5. And then for the Grizzlies stuff, I mean, it's kind of the usual suspects. They bumped up Scottie Pippen, Desmond Baines at 8K, Jalen Wells. I mean, he's been playing okay, but I think at 4,700, I think we kind of lose some upside there. Jaren Jackson at 93. I mean, he destroyed this matchup for 50 something like a week or two ago. But 93, I mean, now we're getting into talks about, some other studs that I'd rather play. I think I'd rather play Brunson over him. Definitely, Jamal Murray for the discount. So I'm going to be away from that. But I think as we look at this game as a whole, it's going to be trying to drill the correct Warriors value. And if you find yourself in a spot to run somebody back, I think that, it's going to be tough, but I think that's where you kind of get your edge tonight. Maybe getting off some Brandon Clark ownership love at just under 30% and kind of maybe getting a sneaky Pippen at an increased price tag or a sneaky Desmond Bane at an increased price tag. But yet again, the Warriors defense has been real tough this season. So don't love it. Damn, I did it again, guys. I said we're going to keep this video short. Somehow we're looking at 25 minutes. But one more time before you go, if you are not a member yet, take advantage of the discount. I mean, this is great. I mean, just the Discord alone is going to be worth the money, let alone you get $100 off of the PGA package, which they're absolutely crushing with. I mean, I don't know anything about handicapping PGA golf. Just load up the Stone, load up the Cores, load up, the articles that are written, the value report. They do a fantastic job. And I feel like I'm always in contention every week, and I don't know anything about professional golf. So utilize it, get in the Discord, take advantage of the multi-sport package. As you've seen, if not on, if you haven't heard or if you've seen on Twitter, I mean, we're having some winners. Shout out to Rio with 100K and their running back showdown again last night. But everybody, I appreciate the watch. I will be jumping over to finish up the slate plan now and take a deeper dive into what we have going for tonight's slate. But guys, everybody, thanks for watching. If you're not a member, sign up, and good luck tonight in your contest, and let's ship it.